The story begins with a note explaining that in 1665, the plague was spreading across England, killing millions. During this terrible time, religious extremists started blaming evil spirits for the sickness. They used this fear to accuse countless innocent women of witchcraft. Most were killed without mercy. The scene shifts to the present day. We meet Grace, her face showing deep sadness. Her young daughter, Abby, stands beside her. When Grace steps outside her home, we discover the source of her pain. Her husband, Joseph, has killed himself. Overcome by grief, she starts digging his grave with her own hands, crying heavily. A flashback shows life not long before. Grace, Abby, and Joseph lived a peaceful, simple existence. Scared of the plague, they moved to a rented house far from any city. Joseph would travel into town to sell their farm's produce, sometimes stopping at a bar. One day there he met their landlord, Boomer. After Boomer left, Joseph realized something terrifying. He had shared a drink with a man carrying the plague. Horrified, Joseph rushed home, clearly shaken. As he got sicker, he begged Grace to get healing herbs from the forest. Then, suddenly, he hanged himself, desperate to stop the disease reaching his family. Back in the present, Boomer arrives at Grace's home with his servant, Edwin, demanding rent money. Grace pleads for extra time. She then sets off for the city, tying Abby close to her as they walk. On the way, she bumps into an old friend, Kate, and Kate's husband, Ben. Grace asks Kate to look after Abby for safety. In the city, Grace visits the bar owner to ask for a loan. He refuses but then tells her something shocking. Boomer had deliberately swapped Joseph's drink, knowing it was infected. Joseph was tricked. Why Boomer did this remains unknown. That night, Grace lies awake, scared. Boomer is returning in the morning for the rent. Suddenly, Joseph's ghost appears and tells her to sell his wedding ring. Heartbroken, Grace digs up his grave and takes the ring. The next day, Boomer comes back with Edwin. Grace offers him both her own ring and Joseph's wedding band, hoping it pays the rent. But Boomer has a much worse plan. He tries to attack her. Grace fights back fiercely. She burns his hand with a hot iron rod and forces him outside using a gun. Boomer staggers away, promising revenge. "You'll pay for this. I swear it." Alone, Grace talks to Joseph's spirit, sharing a painful childhood memory. She saw her mother captured by a famous witch hunter named Morcraft. Her mother was tortured for no reason. When she wouldn't confess, they threatened to kill young Grace. To save her daughter, the woman falsely admitted to being a witch. She was burned alive in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Boomer is back at the bar, stirring up the townspeople. He claims Grace is a witch. After all, her husband died from the plague, but she never got sick. And when he went for the rent, she attacked him. The drunken crowd, already scared after recently killing a woman named Molly for witchcraft, turns against Grace. Molly was Grace's friend. The mob calls for the witch hunters. At home, Grace is putting Abby to bed when masked men break in. She runs upstairs to hide, but they set the house on fire. Grace barely escapes, only to be captured by Boomer. They take Abby away and throw Grace in jail. Elsewhere, Kate confronts Ben. Why betray Grace? She's not a witch. Ben slaps her and says coldly, "If I hadn't sided with Boomer, we'd be next." In jail, Grace meets Astrid, a teenage orphan locked up for stealing food. Astrid warns her, "They'll torture you until you confess, and once you do, they'll kill you. Don't give up." The next morning, Grace is dragged to the town square and tied to a post. She is whipped across her back, blood soaking her dress, but she doesn't shed a tear. Her tortures stop for the day. Later, Boomer tells Edwin that Morcraft himself is coming to torture Grace. If she'd just given in back then, Boomer sneers, none of this would be happening. Grace glares at him through the cell bars. "I'd rather die than give in to you." That night, Grace begs Edwin to find Abby. Feeling pity, Edwin sneaks out to look for the girl. As soon as he leaves, Boomer returns, this time with Morcraft and his assistant, Leonora. Morcraft leans close. "Tomorrow your hell begins." Later that night, Grace dreams the devil is hunting her. She begs God for help, and suddenly her mother appears. "Don't forget who you are," her mother says. "Fight." At dawn, a guard throws water on Grace to wake her. Moorcraft orders Leonora to check her for witch marks. Leonora tears her clothes and examines her body. Finally, she points to an old scar on Grace's neck. Moorcraft nods, satisfied. The devil's mark. The torture will start until she confesses to witchcraft. Grace is left locked in the same awful cell. Sometime later, Edwin shows up and tells her Boomer has Abby locked up with a nurse. Hearing this, Grace insists Abby must be saved. She can't stay with Boomer. She begs Edwin to rescue her daughter. But before he can answer, guards arrive and he must leave. The next day, Grace is tied to a wooden post for torture. Moorcraft appears with Leonora and begins punishing Grace in a furious rage. Despite unbearable pain, Grace stays silent and endures. That night, she is thrown back into her cell. During this time, Leonora tells Moorcraft she doesn't believe Grace is a witch. Moorcraft replies coldly, "If she truly isn't, then God will save her, just like he saved you." We learn Moorcraft once accused Leonora of witchcraft and tried to burn her, but she survived when rain suddenly fell. Later, Leonora visits Grace. "Just admit you're a witch. If you are, then God will save you." It's clear Moorcraft has twisted her mind. But Grace urges Leonora to escape that place. The next day, Grace is tied to the post again. Moorcraft gives her one last chance to confess. Grace, strong and unyielding, says she isn't weak like her mother. She won't lie to live. Moorcraft then reveals a horrible device. Pressing a button makes sharp blades spring out. He forces it into Grace's private parts. She screams in agony but still refuses to lie. Everyone watching is stunned. No ordinary person could survive such torture. Moorcraft declares her a witch, saying no human could endure that. He announces Grace and Abby will be burned alive the next day. Grace begs him to spare Abby, but Moorcraft is cold and unmoved. Meanwhile, Kate, traveling with Ben, vows to tell the villagers the truth about Grace, even if it kills her too. Ben, furious, throws her off their horse and starts beating her. But Kate fights back. She knocks Ben down and hits the horse with a rock. The scared horse runs off, and Ben's head hits a rock, killing him. That night, Edwin sneaks food to Grace. She convinces him to help her escape. Edwin then tells Moorcraft Grace wants to talk. Curious, Moorcraft orders her cleaned and brought to him. Grace is briefly reunited with Abby, her face full of joy seeing her. Edwin arrives with a bottle of poisoned wine. Moorcraft sends everyone away and drinks with Grace, trying to force a confession. Grace knows the wine is poisoned but drinks it anyway. She knows she dies tomorrow, but she wants Moorcraft dead too. Seizing her moment, she attacks, stabbing both his hands to the table, pinning him down. Elsewhere, Abby is locked in Boomer's room. A drunk Boomer stumbles in and passes out. Edwin sneaks in to rescue Abby but she cries out. Before Boomer can wake, Edwin knocks him out. Back with Grace, Leonora attacks. A violent fight starts. Grace punches her hard, and the struggle becomes so fierce the room catches fire. Moorcraft, nailed to the chair, watches helplessly. Edwin arrives and helps Grace escape. Before leaving, she puts a gun near Moorcraft. Outside, Edwin gets Abby to safety while Grace locks herself in another room, thinking she's poisoned. But Edwin reveals the truth. The poisoned wine wasn't for her. Boomer drank it. Understanding, Grace tries to flee, but a guard blocks her path. She tells Edwin to run and save himself. Later, as Grace tries freeing other prisoners, Boomer attacks her. A savage fight erupts. Grace finally slashes his throat, making him pay for all he did. In the final scenes, Moorcraft pulls the blades from his hands. He grabs the gun Grace left, trying to shoot himself to escape the fire. But when he pulls the trigger, nothing happens. The gun is empty. He has no escape from the flames. Elsewhere, Grace imagines Joseph's spirit and walks to a well, then jumps in. Morning arrives. Edwin safely brings Abby to Kate. Finally, we see Grace, sword in hand, rising from a river, ending the story.